wow, it was just really well done.
Tough watch, but really fucking good.
It was tough. It was a tough watch, and
It could have been way worse.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I
if you read the,
I read the summary. I read the summary of the novel that this is based on, and oh boy,
This is a
could have
cleaned up.
been way worse.
This is a cleaned up version
pulled
of it.
some
Huh?
punches, huh?
was it pretty? Was it like gritty?
That's one way of putting it.
Okay.
It's basically 2 weeks, 2 days worth of gang rapes.
Yeah, it's
pretty
it's the
much.
beginning of I Spit on Your Grave, but over like half a month.
Jesus.
Also, what was the length of time for the major part of the film? Was it supposed to be over like a half a year, a couple weeks?
No, it goes from April 20th to June 2nd.
Yeah,
1940.
Hitler shot himself in May.
Yeah.
What's that?
30th.
Yeah, Hitler shot himself on the 28th of April, and
Yeah, so it's
the war in Europe was over by the 5th of May.
Yeah, it's a week. It's a week before Hitler kills himself, which is when the Red Army comes into that section of Berlin, and then it's like 6 weeks after that. That mostly gets compressed into the last few minutes of the movie. Like, it really the movie takes place over the course of about 2 weeks.
Okay. It was just she did an amazing job.
The most shocking thing about this movie to me was that Nina Haas, the performance that she gives in this movie, was not more talked about.
Yeah, no fooling.
Or awarded or whatever, because she
there's one award. Like nobody
there's some
paid any
magnificent face acting, but as Scott mentioned in the chat, really the eye acting
is amazing. And she, again, you could almost talk about the dialogue of the eyes, which are very soulful, and the eyebrows, which are kind of fierce.
I mean, she's
she digs in. The eyebrows get arched, and it's you know, you can see that determination there. She does a lot with her face in this.
Not just her though. Like this is definitely a face acting movie, kind
of
top to bottom.
Yeah, most of the women, the two older women, have a bunch of it too.
Yeah, but also
this guy,
Evgeny. Yeah,
and the movie is also remarkable because right out of the gate, it basically, like, by establishing that her character was effectively totally on board with this whole Third Reich thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, it kind of makes, like, you're kind of conflicted initially on, like, am I supposed to feel sorry for her or and all of her friends? But
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's another war is hell movie, of course, is that they all have to be if they're doing their job correctly. But but
a
really
war is hell, acted. A war is hell movie that is centered around women.
Yeah,
it's a story I've never seen before. Not like certainly not like this, and I don't even think like maybe ever.
No, it's like a war is hell movie, but it's about the people who lose and just how much that is ground into.
I'm reminded of Susan Brown Miller's rape book, where she talks about this at length. That you know, basically, it's like the major says, all our men are healthy or something, or they're clean.
Yeah. They're clean and healthy. Yeah, I was like,
about it.
Hooray!
But it's, you know, it's been a at least of modern warfare, but also going back a long ways, that you reward soldiers for doing these things, killing each other and stuff, by letting them rape the local population once they come in, and it's just sort of a tacit.
The official
agreement.
The official number is 80 to 130,000 rapes were committed by the Red Army after the siege of Berlin ended.
That's just in Berlin, right?
That's just in Berlin.
Yeah,
man.
I did a little poking around, and there's plenty of documentation.
Well,
it's a dumb question.
If you get a content warning for this episode,
I didn't see this movie, but it seems to me that if you dehumanize people as such, you know, if they're not human, then you're like, you don't have any morals. You don't have any. I mean, it's disgusting. It's like they probably didn't even think of them as
no.
Well,
sure. The commander says two horrible things to her. He says, "My men are healthy."
Yeah,
and also it's only a few minutes. Talking about a rape. It's
well, the other thing you're leaving off though is, and it would have been, Jim, I think you missed the boat. This should have been the double feature with Come and See, because there's a line early on which is basically, you know, this is payback.
No, if they,
Like
the
you're
Russians,
getting off easy with what we're doing, because if we
Yeah.
treated you the way you've been treating us for the last couple of
Right,
years,
well,
you'd all be dead.
The
Yeah, that
young
was the
guy
previous.
behind Tad. Have you taken down the picture? Is he
Yeah,
still
I'll put it
there?
back up.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
guy
if you-
who tells his story where it's like, oh yeah, this is where it does cross over.
And
to
she's
come.
like, did you hear that or did you see it?
See that.
Yeah.
And he
He's like,
pauses for
I
a second.
saw
And
it.
he
Uh-huh.
says,
Yeah, well,
"I
that's
saw
it. And that's that fierceness too. And she's
Yeah.
like, okay, you're trying to intimidate me. Tell me if this is true or not. And he said, of course it happened.
Oh, well,
You
for
know.
Jared's benefit, the story that this soldier tells, he forces her to translate it because he doesn't speak German and she speaks Russian and German, is that in his hometown, the Germans invaded and killed all the children, and they didn't waste bullets on the children, so they picked them up by their ankles and smashed their heads against the wall of the houses. And she can't translate it. Like she keeps starting and stopping, and he keeps yelling at her to translate it. And eventually when she does, when he's done talking, she says, "Did you hear about this or did you see it?" And he stops and he just this looks straight into her eyes and says, "I saw it." And she runs out of the room. She just runs the fuck out of the entire building and leaves.
Yeah, that's
But
awful.
Like
Also,
this is a movie with no heroes. This is a
No.
movie where everyone is complicit in some way, one way or another.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend is
even the woman is
yeah,
kind of
her
bad.
boyfriend
Yeah.
her boyfriend's a Nazi and
Not
then
a Nazi.
no, he's not. He's in here, but he's not a Nazi. He doesn't have doesn't have the pin.
okay, whatever.
Well,
Uh-huh.
he leaves to go do God knows what, and
He was
comes
going to
back
serve the
really
Nazis,
broken and
but
humiliated.
I think they were enthusiastic about the Reich, but they weren't like party members.
The episode or the beginning where they're at the party, all
Mhm.
they're doing is talking about how bad the people they're fighting against are.
They have,
Like,
no,
Oh, yeah.
they have no leader.
if they're not
Mhm.
technically Nazis, like they're Nazis adjacent. in
Nazis
what they're-
adjacent.
right?
No,
Like,
sure.
I'm not splitting hairs here. I'm just
these
saying
are
that-
these are Hitler's willing executioners. Like this
Yeah.
is absolutely what this is.
But the thing
And
is, they
none of
explained
these
that-
people are good.
Yeah,
no
no.
one's good in this movie except for maybe that one old Russian soldier,
Mhm.
the guy who dances with the woman and then leaves.
Yeah.
Right,
wants
yeah,
to
the
go
wise old
home.
NCO, yeah.
Yeah, the
And-
one who wants to go home. Yes.
Actually, the only person I truly did not feel guilty feeling sorry for was the Mongolian.
I
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
the Mongolian.
Also,
Yeah, the Mongolian was.
And he probably wasn't even Mongolian because he does some Tuvan throat singing at one
He's-
point.
Yeah. That was
he's,
impressive.
who's
That was a highlight.
he's
Yeah,
sure.
what is it? Budai?
Character
Uh,
name?
He's a real he's a real famous performer back in God, what the fuck is the name of that? It's a republic. It's called like Budai or something like that.
Oh.
And it's a eastern republic in Russia, and it's one of the places that Tuvan throat singing comes from.
Oh.
And he's from there, and he's an actual like known recording artist and a composer. He's
Cool.
composed for other movies too.
It was a
Which
great
I would like to
moment.
bring back around to the music in this movie sucks. Top to
I don't
bottom.
even remember it.
Yeah, I
You're
didn't
Right,
right.
exactly.
Mhm.
I only remember it because it sounds like every other thing that's ever been set in this time period. Like
No, it's kind of keyboardy and kind of like,
It made no impression on me.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I don't remember it.
it just washed over. It was just music.
it
is-
actually
it is the-
removed emotion from some of the scenes
Mhm.
for me because it was just like I've heard this in a commercial at some point in time. Like this is just
Visually, though, the director really knows what he's doing, and visually, it's very well directed, and it's also
Yeah.
the most olive drab movie I've ever seen.
Oh, Yeah, it is. You
Well,
notice
yeah,
how
you've
like
Got bombed out buildings and soldiers.
Which I'm gonna
and
This-
World War
this was
II
back- this
soldiers
was
where this is the
backlot,
only
right?
color that existed.
Yeah.
backlot. I got to imagine this is all backlot. And it was a pretty good backlot.
it was. They had one set basically, and they did
Yeah.
a lot with it. Yeah,
This
and,
must have been fairly cheap to produce when you think about it, because it was one street.
Yeah,
Just
there's
from these-
some bombed out apartment sets and just one street. And that
And
dog
that
was,
dog.
Yeah,
Just
that
from some of
dog.
the images, I'm getting sort of a real like
Yeah.
Rainer Werner Fassbender vibe or
Yeah,
something.
but
I don't know.
The thing I picked up on,
There's a lot of fog in the beginning and then even towards the end of this movie where it's like, we can't shoot further down this street because there's a wall there.
Yeah, or like a contemporary billboard or something.
Yeah.
When you see a street teeing at the end, you realize it's like, behind there are the offices, and
It's the
you know,
fog of
the street.
war.
Yeah,
No one's-
but
On the other side
Which
of
is
that
a
is
great
the German,
documentary.
on
There's
the
a
other
good
side
movie,
of that
too.
is Sesamstrasse. Like
Yeah,
they're
Sesamstrasse,
literally
or or the
there's-
old Never-Ending Story set or something.
I
like that.
thought-
Right.
No one's mentioned. So at the end of the day, though, like, what I thought was also sort of remarkable about her character is, despite the fact that you don't feel sorry for her initially because she's Nazi adjacent, this movie is nothing if not I guess some sort of weird female empowerment movie, right? Because she basically decides, I'm going to try to do whatever I can to control this situation as much as possible.
I agree with
still
you.
gonna get
I
raped.
agree with you up until the end. At the end of the movie, they invert that and make
Yeah,
it
that
bad.
was the only
No.
weird note for me.
And
It's
in the
was this
book-
Stockholm
no,
syndrome? What's
in the-
going on here?
In the book, her and Gerd get back together.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Actually, Chris landed
He
on a point.
forgives
Yeah.
her, and
Yeah.
they get back together, and she's the person who can't forgive herself for what happened.
Huh.
And that's much more interesting to me than him going, "Oh, you're broken and tainted, and I'm not going to have anything to do with you," and disappearing.
He's also kind of broken.
However, Tad, I would say that the ending is ambiguous in that that's what he
Yes.
says when he first realizes what's been going on while he was away.
But then
But you
she
can-
says he's gone, and I don't know if I'm ever going to see him again. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is ambiguous to me, and his acting after that scene where he got angry led me to believe that was open-ended, that he might be able to understand it.
No,
That guy actually-
Chris landed on a point I wanted to make about the commodity of beauty, how that affects everything, because you got a random bunch of women in an apartment building, and there's one really, really good looking one and a couple of fairly good looking ones and older women and kids and like that. And they are sorted by that. You can tell they fit into status. The beautiful girl gets the major, you know what I mean?
she gets the lieutenant when the major rejects
Well,
her.
she's
Exactly.
also the only one who goes out and actively pursues that.
But she
Right,
knows that,
because she's trying to
her
control the
looks are a
situation.
commodity and she uses them.
Yeah,
And
of course. I
yeah.
mean, it wouldn't have worked if she looked like the syphilis one who was hiding in her boyfriend.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm actually makes an important point, though. I think it's like
I also I
Huh?
kind of wish this movie hadn't cut away from her story as many times as it did. Like,
it was kind of an ensemble, wasn't it?
well, and this is a diary. Like,
Mhm.
it literally has, it has narration of her through her diary to the
Mhm.
point that she hands her diary to Gerd at the end of it to read it. Like, and then it just keeps. She doesn't know what's going on in that apartment upstairs, and
Yeah,
somehow it
the
cuts to
film
that
does.
apartment upstairs.
No,
The film
that's
knows
the-
what's going
Yeah, no,
on.
the,
She
the
does.
soul
Yeah.
Dotton in the attic was the Chekhov's gun of this movie.
Chekhov's thrown over a railing.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Eventually,
knew somebody was going to go down that stairwell at some point.
he was going to.
But
fuck
It's like
everything
it's
up.
like it's like in the first Bourne movie where she keeps going up the stairs into the apartment, and it's like he's got to jump off the side holding that guy at some point. Like the
But Tad, I wanted to, before your point recedes into the past here, yeah, it's supposed to be her diary, and then there are these adjacent scenes that are sort of subplots that aren't related to her, so much so that I forgot that she was keeping a diary, and when she had Gerd read it at the end, I had to go, oh yeah.
well, it even drops the narration at a certain point.
Right,
Like
right.
it, yeah, it.
Yeah.
Although they pick up the narration at the very end again.
Yes, they do, which is the problem. The problem is that it goes into third person omniscient at a certain point in time, despite
Right.
being first person limited for most of it.
It's
There's
kind of just
been a
bookended.
couple-
It's just bookended with the journal thing.
No, they-
There's been a
it's
couple
actually
of
been-
movies that have done that lately,
Yeah.
like messed around with narration inconsistently, and that's a real. I would think that's a real no-no unless you're making like an experimental film.
No, it kind of mainstreamed the idea of this film. It went from a personal diary to kind of like a story of a bunch of people in a location, which is more of a movie,
Yeah.
as opposed to a diary or autobiography or like that. So
But I swear I've seen like films lately where it's narrated at the beginning, and then like the narration just disappears and never comes back.
Right.
Or like, and you're just like, what the
man.
fucking was the point of that then? Like, if you're
I
not going
can
to take
think
us
of
through the whole,
one.
It's like they speak Russian at the beginning of Red October, and
But
then
at least,
Right,
in,
right,
in-
right.
at least in the
Device,
beginning of
though.
Red October, they do the zoom into their mouths and then switch it to English and
Yeah.
pull back.
And
Like,
you know,
that's
because
they're
John
letting you know.
McTiernan's a great filmmaker, and he
Yeah.
goes, "This is how we solve this problem."
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it solved the problem by sucking you out of the film for like 10 seconds. That's all.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
that's it.
dropping
Zoom
you
in,
right
and zoom
back in.
out, and
And
it's
we
like,
no
oh,
longer have
oh,
to
we're-
finish
okay,
the
that's
talk.
great because I think half people were relieved when that happened.
Well, and then when the English speakers show up and they're all speaking Russian again, you've heard them speaking Russian, so it's
Right.
not weird.
No, it's actually
Like-
really, really clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Did
John
anybody-
McTiernan,
Well, at
master
least
of
it-
modern action movies.
John
Did anybody
McTiernan is
see,
good. In fact, even 13th Warrior is pretty good.
I love
Um,
13th Warrior.
yeah,
I think
it's underrated.
important to remember that she is the woman who wrote the diary is a journalist.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't
Is that
know
what
that.
she did before the
Oh,
war?
that's right. That's the first opening. The opening.
And
the
then
opening lines.
after the war,
Yeah.
she went and became a journalist again.
Yes.
And that's why you have the part where the guy's asking about who knows how to work this camera. Do you know, and that's why there's the whole thing with the typewriter getting passed around at the end. Like, they're all symbols of her journalistic background.
Right.
But I'm saying that she can also like ask the other women what happened upstairs or whatever.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But you should show that. You should
Yeah, yeah.
show
So
because there are
upstairs is-
multiple scenes where the characters talk about being sexually assaulted. They talk about what's going on in their lives, and there's never any of those scenes with her.
her. Yeah.
No. But
Like, she is exempt from those scenes, which is weird. Like, I thought this was a good movie, but I feel like it falls down on a certain number of things, and I think a lot of them are because it just felt unfocused. Like, the movie just felt like it lacked a bit of focus at a certain point in time. Like, it was trying to be you know how Das Boot was actually a 6-hour miniseries, and then they cut
Yeah.
it down to a 3-hour
Yeah.
movie. And sometimes you feel like you're missing something. And I love that movie, but sometimes you feel like you're missing something. Like, there was a conversation we didn't get to hear here. I feel like this is kind of like that, where it felt like there was more happening outside behind all of this, that if they'd brought it in, which is funny because I also think it's too long, but if they'd brought it in, like, you would have had a better sense of what the world was.
So in other words, like if you cut every 10, 15 minutes, you cut away to like what's really happening in the war, then come back and you have context of what's going on.
Something like that.
I can see that. It felt insular.
That's what I love about the pianist. Was it the pianist?
The pianist is with
Yeah, I liked that because it
With
was a very
Adrian
narrow
Brody?
view
Adrian
of a
Brody.
big event.
Or Downfall, where you never leave the bunker.
Right.
Like, it's just it's you're looking through peepholes through that entire
Right,
movie.
but I guess I'm disagreeing with you that I didn't mind that this seemed to be a narrow view.
But
of
it's but
Disney
I don't
Purdy reality.
I don't think it is a narrow view. Like,
It
that's
was
the
either
problem.
too
Like,
narrow
it
or not
should
narrow
be a
enough.
narrow view, or it should be a wide view.
It was
and
something
it's
in
right
between.
here.
Yeah.
It's just in your peripheral vision where you notice the movement, and you're like, oh, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think I go back to my
Well,
original
maybe
argument.
like
This
you
was
said, they had budget constraints.
it was an autobiography that got turned into a standard kind of a ensemble film, and it didn't work as well as it could have been if they'd got really into it and just made this a one point
right,
of view
in or out,
story.
in or out.
In or out.
That's-
It was not in or out. It was like the dog did not know which way to go, in or out of the thing. Just kind of like waiting, to open the door, right? That's what's going on. So they didn't know it wasn't neither fish nor fowl with in that
Was this
form.
is this a German production?
Very.
Yeah.
Well, German. It was made in. Wasn't it shot in Poland?
Some of
That's
it.
where the studio.
Probably.
Okay, good enough.
Well,
Yeah.
but it was made by a German filmmaker, correct?
Oh yeah, well this is extremely
Oh,
German actually.
yeah,
Extremely
Max Färberböck.
Has he done anything? I didn't look him up. Has he done anything else?
Tad has seen one of his other movies.
Yeah, Ami and Jaguar, which is
Oh.
a movie about lesbians who get thrown into the Holocaust, and it's,
So another feel gooder.
yeah, it's bent, but lesbians instead of gay men,
No,
and
God.
it's a great movie. It has a lot to do with burlesque and nightclub scenes and all of
Cabaret.
the stuff that in Citizen Kane, or not Citizen, God damn it, in Schindler's List didn't make you unhappy. Like the parts in that where it's like, oh, we're just hanging out and smoking cigarettes, and then yeah,
I
then
mean, the parts
you
where
find
like
out
Spielberg is like, I have to light him smoking this cigarette in this exact
Right.
way.
Yeah. I
and then
didn't see
you
it,
find out what happened to all the people who were performing in the cabaret.
That's the thing. It sounds like what happened to the people in like the Weimar Republic party time,
Mhm.
or like in the movie Cabaret. Yeah, this is the sequel to that where they all get killed.
Mhm.
I give this movie a big thumbs up for her performance, and also because it was a story I don't think ever.
Guys, I just want to bring up one of my favorite scenes where I was kind of like really, I think this movie in the first act is really rough going because it's just wall-to-wall rape and you don't know where the story's going yet. So it's just like, wow, the Russians are assholes. And then as we meet the characters and we get to see which way the story's headed, then you start to feel empathy for the different characters and it gets a little bit easier to bear. But I just wanted to bring up, there's a moment in the middle where all the women got like a moment's respite and they were all at the kitchen table together.
Yes.
And it was almost like the war wasn't happening for about 4 minutes.
Someone made a cake.
Somebody made a cake. Did they sing happy birthday?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was just wonderful. It was such a good scene.
No, is this? I really dug this in terms of like I was never bored, and it was something I'd never seen before. It was grim, but it was a good film.
Yeah,
and
I really
if
liked
this was an American film, it'd start out, the opening bit would be like, we're gonna win the war, and everybody else is stupid, and hey, have a drink. Then you smash cut to a bunch of women saying, "Oh, fuck,"
Also,
because
no
they
one's-
know the Russians are coming. They know what they did to them. The sense of dread in the first act was it was like palpable.
Yeah.
Also,
it was,
no one mentioned the
Mhm.
medic who's in love with the major, and that's a good performance too.
Yeah.
Yes.
a little soapy, but it was
The
good.
Sarge-
Well, and
Sergeant,
also and also the dude who's I don't know. He's the Captain Nixon in this, the guy who keeps going up to him and being like, you have to do something about this. Do you know what I'm talking about? He had the slightly darker skin.
Yeah.
He's the political commissar, isn't
Is
he?
he a
what's with
commissar?
with the
I
blue with the
believe he
uniform?
is.
I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
if they ever referred to him as commissar in it, because the whole time I was thinking he's acting like a commissar, but also he's not like randomly executing people, so I don't know if he is or not. But yeah, like his part, I thought he was really good in it too. Like there is definitely good acting in this movie.
Because he definitely goes two ways, right?
Right. Well, they're friends. He calls him brother. He walks up to him and he hugs him and he goes, "Brother, you can't do this."
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I
don't
think the only weird note for me was that scene where she goes and basically says goodbye to the major in front of everybody. It was a little stagey, and I don't know that she wouldn't have had shit thrown at her for doing that.
they're leaving at that point. Like,
I guess.
Like the war's over. Like that's the whole thing where he's like, war kaput.
War
Like
kaput.
it's like the guy pulled the gun and shot at him, and like he only throws him over the balcony because he tried to shoot him. Like his whole thing was, this war's over.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. They were looking forward to going home, I think.
yeah.
Good pick, Jim.
Good pick.